This is Lux, an orphaned prince who, in his misery, ended up wrecking his own country because of corruption. He wanted to rebuild it, but got defeated before he could, leading to a new country being formed without him. And even though he's a hero, now he has to pretend to be weak at an all-girls school. One day, while Lux was chasing a cat across the rooftops, he fell into a building and landed right on top of a girl in the women's bathroom. He was super embarrassed, but figured the best way out of the mess was to compliment her on how well-equipped she was. She was not having it, screamed that he was a disgusting pervert, and got him thrown in jail. In there, a mysterious girl named Krulcifer approached him. He tried to explain himself, but she couldn't care less about his nonsense. What did catch her eye was his long black sword, and she was fascinated. Then another girl came in and told Lux the director wanted to see him right away. In the director's office, she recognized him as Lux, the prince of the old Arcadia Empire, leaving the students speechless because they couldn't believe the ugly pervert was actually a prince. The director mentioned that since they were the ones who called him for a job, she was going to overlook the incident. And even though the school is only for girls, she'd like him to work there. To everyone's surprise, Lux refused to join their useless academy, but she reminded him that guys like him are valuable and that sword he's carrying isn't just for show. Right at that moment, the girl he interrupted in the bathroom burst in and yelled at the director that she would not allow that idiot to work at the school. As she got closer, the other girls warned her not to get too close, because he supposedly had a rare disease called melon-touching disorder. In the end, the director decided to let Lisa Shart handle Lux's punishment. Hearing that, she challenged him to a duel. If he won, he could join the academy and work there, but if he lost, he'd go to jail as a criminal. The director reminded her that Lux had actually won the Capitals tournament, was still undefeated, and was known as the undefeated weakest. Still, the girl ordered another student to announce that the princess of the new empire was going to take care of the prince of the old one. Then she introduced herself as Lisa Shart. Lux realized she was the princess of the Atismata Empire, the same one that destroyed his empire 5 years ago. On the day of the duel, Lux went to the Colosseum, which was protected by an energy barrier. Lisa Shart approached him and said she'd tell him why she challenged him if he managed to win, which she highly doubted. Lux drew his sword and summoned his drag ride. Lisa Shart laughed at his machine while she summoned her own, which was a divine drag ride, the kind only the strongest can control, leaving Lux impressed. And so, the battle began. Lisa Shart started firing at him with her blaster cannons, but he dodged everything. She asked if he liked to play rough, because she did, and threw a bunch of small dynamites at him, which he also dodged. Without a second thought, she shot him directly and damaged his sword. Lux apologized for being an idiot, but she got even angrier and pulled out an even bigger cannon. She told him to get rid of his broken drag ride and use his other sword, but he refused. So she sent more flying dynamites his way, which he dodged right before taking a heavy blast, but he managed to dodge it all. At this point, the princess was frustrated and tired, realizing she couldn't beat him, and figured the fight would end in a draw. She wondered if that's why they called him the undefeated weakest. She drew her sword again and told him to prepare his last words. Then, she activated a divine ability and used a heavenly voice that sent Lux to the ground with an earthquake that shattered the entire arena. She tried to finish him off with her dynamites, but she suddenly lost control of her drag ride. At that moment, they heard a flute that made the barrier vanish, and in front of them appeared a terrifying abyss with glowing red eyes. An announcement was made to evacuate all students and create a barrier around the abyss. But the abyss launched some red darts that instantly broke the barrier. Without hesitation, Lux started attacking the abyss and asked Lisa Shart to get to ground level and aim at it while he distracted it, because he couldn't win alone. He told her to fire on his signal. Lisa Shart shot at the abyss, but the monster dodged it like it was nothing. The abyss went straight for the princess, and when Lux tried to stop it, he lost an arm of his drag ride. But that created an opening for Lisa Shart to unleash a super powerful fire shot that finished off the monster, while Lux fell to the ground, injured. Later that night, while Lisa Shart was taking a bath, she couldn't stop thinking about how Lux saved her. It was the first time a boy had ever tried to protect her. Meanwhile, Lux woke up from a nightmare and saw Lisa Shart with a bowl of water, asking her in surprise if she had come to take care of him. She told him it was because he had saved her, but confessed that the real reason she challenged him to a duel was because she couldn't let him get away. After seeing his physique, the pervert apologized and told her he had seen her in 4K and that she was looking good, which surprised her. But she clarified she wasn't talking about that, but about the old empire's crest engraved on her abdomen. She warned him not to tell anyone, and he swore on his sword. Afterwards, she informed him that he would be a student at the academy and they would be classmates, much to his surprise. The next day, Lux was back at the academy. He introduced himself to the class and everyone wondered why he looked so different. Looking for a seat, he found a girl with enormous cannons, the size of her head. Instantly, he knew those cannons looked familiar. It was his childhood friend, Fluffy. So he decided to sit next to her, ignoring the other flat girls and making Lisa Shot turn red with envy. During the break, all the girls jumped on him asking for his services, but he told them to form a line. Lisa Shot approached him and asked for an exclusive service. She wanted him to be her personal assistant, which surprised everyone, who didn't understand why she would want a guy for that. But she thought it wasn't a big deal, since he had already seen her physique. At that moment, Fluffy stood up with her huge cannons and warned her to leave Lux alone. And right there, they squared off, ready for a battle. Lisa Shot didn't back down and tried to bribe Fluffy with food, knowing she was a glutton, but even that didn't get her to move. Suddenly, Krulsifer appeared, just in time to save Lux from that pair of desperate girls. Once outside, he thanked her and asked why she had helped him. Instead of answering, she asked him about the Black Hero, the mysterious dragon knight who defeated the old empire and whose identity was a secret to everyone, leaving Lux in shock. She told him his mission was to find this Black Hero. The next day, he went to the workshop to get his damaged drag ride fixed and was surprised to find that Lisa Shot was in charge of repairs. She showed him it was already fixed, which surprised him even more, and told him he was joining the school's Night Squadron, an elite unit, and handed him a sword. He hesitated at first, but in the end, he agreed to do his best. Later, Lux and Lisa Shot walked through the city and went up a tower to see the view. Lux commented that she was worthy of being called a queen for her talent in repairing drag rides. But she replied that she wasn't worthy, because the old empire used her as a hostage because of her father, who took part in the coup. They tortured her father abandoned her, and they branded an emblem on her abdomen. The next morning, the alarm went off. The Night Squadron cadets were sent to stop an attack from a giant abyss. Lux was worried because it was the second attack in a very short time. On sight, the cadets surrounded a giant slimy mass with Lisa Shot ready to attack. Out of nowhere, an ugly guy blew a flute that made the mass glow and explode. Several ferocious abyss emerged from the explosion, and the ugly guy introduced himself to Lisa Shot as Velvet, the head of the Arcadia Empire's Night Squadron. He blew the flute again, and the abyss started to attack. Lisa Shot fought back, and they began to fight. One of the cadets went back to the base and told Lux that things were really bad on the battlefield. Lux wanted to go save Lisa Shot, but was warned that he couldn't do anything with his old drag ride and would need his other black sword. He insisted everything would be fine. Meanwhile, in the battle, Lisa Shot used her heavenly voice ability, causing a huge earthquake. She asked the other cadets if they were okay, and they told her they needed to retreat. She replied that she first had to take out Velvet, because his flute was controlling the abyss. The abyss fired missiles at her, and as she dodged them, Velvet knocked her down and called her an annoying witch. He showed her the emblem on her belly and laughed like a clown, admitting that he had branded her himself. Hearing that, she became furious and tried to draw her sword, but he knocked it out of her hand and cut her face. He decided he was going to finish her, but as he prepared, Lux protected her and began to tell Lisa Shot that, although he had been a useless prince, he had now decided to help her become the new queen of the empire. Taking advantage of his distraction, Velvet cut off his drag ride's arm and asked who he was. But Lux activated his black sword for the first time and transformed into the Black Hero, surprising Velvet, who didn't understand how that loser had such a drag ride. He hit him like a ball and started dealing massive damage to the abyss. That's when Velvet recognized him as Lux, the seventh prince of Arcadia, and wondered why the hell he was fighting him if they were supposed to have the same goal. Before he could finish his thought, Lux used his reload on fire attack and ran him through, delivering the final blow. Days later, at the academy, the students threw Lux a surprise party for his victory and thanked him for his help. During the party, the director told him they had organized a competition for him. She showed everyone a red envelope and announced that whoever took it from Lux in under an hour would have the right to use him as they wished for a week. If he still had the envelope at the end of the game, he wouldn't have to obey anyone. The competition started with a crowd of girls running at him. Lux screamed and hid in a warehouse while they looked for him. There, he discovered that Lisa Shot was also hiding. To distract him, she asked about the Black Hero. As he was answering, she pinned him with her drag ride and asked for the envelope. He promised to give it to her if she let him go. She agreed, and as soon as she released him, he bolted. Hiding in a bush, he bumped into Fluffy, who told him she'd been offered a cake if she found and stopped him. She grabbed his hands, pressing her enormous cannons against his back, and promised to give him her cakes if he handed over the envelope. Just then, the envelope fell, and as they tried to pick it up, Lux broke free. He grabbed the envelope before she could, determined not to drool over her melons like a teenager, and got out of there. With only 10 minutes left, he entered a room and hid behind a box. Just then, some girls came in and started taking off their armor. Our hero realized he was a lost cause, and that he always ended up in situations like this. Krulsifer, half undressed, came over and saw him hiding. He thought about looking, but felt it was a waste of time, because she was totally flat. Still, he was worried she might rat him out, but to his surprise, she kept his secret. A few minutes later, after the other girls had left, she told him he could come out, that the competition was over. She asked if he had the envelope, and the fool gave it to her. That's when he realized she had tricked him, manipulating time to get the envelope. She revealed that he was now hers for a week, and had to obey all her orders. And to start, she wanted him to be her boyfriend for a week. The next morning, during breakfast, Krulsifer explained Lux's duties as her boyfriend. She told him she had come to the new empire because her family wanted her to find a noble suitor to marry for political reasons, as royalty does, and that a butler from her family was coming in a few days to confirm the engagement, so she needed him to pretend to be her partner. But Lux told her he didn't want anything to do with an ugly girl. She threatened him, saying that if he didn't cooperate, everyone would find out about his incident spying on the girls. The next day, Krulsifer took him to a clothing store to buy him something decent, since he had a reputation for dressing like a slob with no style. That night, while they were looking for a place to have dinner, some guys attacked them, shooting, but Lux protected her. Krulsifer told Lux to take care of the two guys in front to buy her time to summon her dragon. Lux cut one down like he was chopping cabbage and knocked the other to the ground, while Krulsifer summoned her drag ride, Fafnir. At that moment, some dragon knights flying over the building shot at Lux, but Krulsifer's drag ride protected him. The knights decided to attack her instead, but Krulsifer activated her Wise Blood ability, predicted their moves, and defeated each of them with a single blow. Lisashot and Philippi showed up, and Lux wondered what they were doing there. One of the attackers tried to escape, but Alteris appeared out of nowhere and knocked him out. Krulsifer explained that she was her family's butler, whom she had already told him about. Later, during dinner, she told Alterisa that Lux was her classmate and boyfriend. Suddenly, a guy named Balthazar, one of the 4 great nobles, appeared and called for Krulsifer. Alteris confirmed that the marriage plans were already set. However, Krulsifer told him she was already dating Lux, so Balthazar challenged him to a duel of dragon knights to see who the real alpha male was. But Krulsifer suggested a tag team duel instead, her and Lux against him and Alterisi. Everyone agreed and set the duel for 3 days later. Shortly after, Balthazar had a chat with a mysterious man who told him that the key to enter the depths of the ruins was already his, referring to Krulsifer, while Balthazar laughed like a maniac. In a distant castle, the 4 great nobles held an emergency meeting about the Ragnarok, a super-powerful abyss that had awakened in some ruins. They all agreed they had to prepare, because the new empire wasn't strong enough to face it. One of the nobles suggested they keep investigating the ruins to stop the Ragnarok, and proposed that his son Balthazar lead the investigation. Meanwhile, at the academy, the director gathered the Night Squadron cadets to tell them about the need to investigate those same ruins. She showed them a horn-shaped flute and said it might be the key to enter the deepest areas, and she gave it to Lux. Lux saw Krulsifer at the meeting and wondered what she was doing there, since exchange students weren't allowed to participate. He followed her, and she confirmed that she was joining the investigation team. The next day, as the cadets were getting ready to go to the ruins, the instructor announced that Balthazar would be joining them, surprising everyone when the arrogant guy showed up. Lisashot demanded to know why that idiot was going to investigate the ruins with them. Balthazar told her she should have trained her face instead of her fighting skills. He assured her he was there to protect his future wife, Krulsifer, and that he was also the head of the investigation. As soon as they got to the ruins, Krulsifer went ahead, leaving everyone behind. Suddenly, a powerful and monstrous abyss called Diablos appeared. It lunged at one of the cadets, but Lux intercepted it and crashed into it. The impact nearly destroyed his drag ride, but Lisashot shot the abyss with her laser cannon to save him. Everyone fired at it, but the abyss deflected the attacks with incredible speed. Balthazar told them their efforts were as useless as Lux's face, and jumped in with a powerful laser shot. Krulsifer appeared and charged straight at the abyss, using Wise Blood, but the monster dodged her, leaving her shocked. Their attacks clashed, and the abyss's fire blast was so strong it almost turned her to ash, but Lux saved her just in time. The abyss kept dodging every attack they threw at it with impressive speed. Balthazar summoned an axe and landed a direct hit that made Diablos explode, emitting a bright light. The cadets protected themselves with a barrier. At that moment, Krulsifer's Fafnir went out of control as the ruins glowed. Seeing this, Lux went to protect her, but they were both sucked into the ruins. He woke up in a strange place, with no idea where he was. Krulsifer explained that the explosion had taken them inside the ruins. She thanked him for saving her and suggested they go to the central altar to regroup with the others. As they walked, she fainted from exhaustion, so Lux helped her continue. When they reached the altar, Krulsifer went to the center while Lux pulled out the flute, thinking it was the key to activate it. But when Krulsifer got close, the altar lit up on its own with a neon light, surprising Lux. He then discovered that the flute wasn't the key, but Krulsifer was. She wasn't human, but a survivor from the ruins. Suddenly, there was a violent earthquake. Lux ran to save Krulsifer, but they got trapped even deeper inside the ruins with no escape. Krulsifer told Lux that her father had found her in the ruins and adopted her. Just as they were talking, Lisashart blew a hole in the wall with her drag ride. That night, Krulsifer gave Lux the red envelope because she didn't want to drag him into her problems. She faced Balthazar and Altaris alone. Balthazar asked about her boyfriend, but she told him she had sent him back to fight alone. At that moment, Balthazar summoned his drag ride, and Altaris prepared to summon hers. Balthazar told her not to interfere, that he would drain all her energy until she passed out. The battle began with an exchange of explosive shots. Balthazar quickly figured out that Krulsifer's Fafnir could predict his moves, so, being clever, he started stealing her power without her noticing. Krulsifer got frustrated, seeing her attacks fail mysteriously, even when using her powerful Wise Blood spell. Balthazar landed a direct hit and knocked her down with a brutal axe strike. Just then, Lux threw his sword at Balthazar, who dodged it by a hair, saving himself from getting his face squashed. Balthazar recognized the Black Dragon hero and called him a fool who spent years on the run only to reveal his identity for a worthless girl. Lux shot back that she was very important to him and threatened to cut his head off. Lux activated Reload on Fire and charged at full speed. However, Balthazar's barriers held up, revealing he had stolen Wise Blood from Krulsifer, which allowed him to read his every move. While Balthazar fired his laser pistol, Lux used his divine shield, but Krulsifer grabbed his arm and drained his power. Balthazar launched a series of attacks at Lux and hit him with his axe, but it clashed with Lux's sword. Then, he fired several blasts that Lux blocked with his shield and charged at him, but Balthazar also defended with his shield. Lux's drag ride started to flicker, and he lost control. At that moment, Krulsifer tearfully begged him to stop. But Lux was determined to keep fighting for her. Just when Balthazar thought he had won, Lux activated Recoil Burst, an incredibly powerful move that obliterated him. Several weeks later, Lux, disguised as a hideous drag queen, was wandering around the school at night when the instructor found him and warned him about a stalker in the shadows. Lux, confused, couldn't understand how no one saw through his disguise. Earlier that day, he had met with Charis, who told him about a terrifying Ragnarok in the country. She also mentioned a girl named Celistia, the daughter of a great noble, who was strong enough to face it. She said Celistia was the strongest at the academy and would soon return to the capital, but that there were rumors she hated men. After that, Charis asked him to patrol the academy for her, and in a moment of carelessness, with the help of other girls, they overpowered him and put him in women's clothing. As Lux was thinking about the mysterious Celistia, he heard a noise in the bushes. He went to investigate and found a depressed and strange girl named Calistia, talking to a cat. He thought, who lets a crazy person wander around at this time of night? Suddenly, a stranger appeared behind him and put a dagger to his stomach. He almost died of fright, thinking it was the stalker he'd been warned about. But Calistia came to his defense, and the stranger threw a smoke bomb and escaped. Just when they thought the danger had passed, the stranger threw a dagger at Celistia from a distance, but Lux deflected it and got injured. Celistia took him to the infirmary and treated his wounds. Lux, trying not to reveal who he was, insisted she treat him from behind, but she told him he looked like a gorilla. Afterwards, she walked him to his room, and he introduced himself as Luno. Meanwhile, Balthazar got a visit from a hooded man in jail. He assured him that next time he wouldn't lose to a useless kid, but the man told him he was a waste of space and, with just a touch, turned him into a monster. On the other hand, Lux needed to talk to Celistia about the Ragnarok threat. He was called to the director's office, where Lisashart and Celistia were in a heated argument about him being the only guy in school. Celistia, famous for hating men, wanted him expelled. Lux tried to explain the danger of the Ragnarok, but Celistia shut him up and said she'd handle it herself. Lux didn't back down and insisted the Ragnarok was too powerful for her alone. The director stepped in and suggested a duel in 3 days. If Lux won, he could stay at the academy and help with the Ragnarok. Celestia accepted the challenge. That night, a girl named Sanya visited Celestia to encourage her to expel Lux. While Lux was talking with other girls, he got a request for a massage. To his surprise, it was Celestia who had called him. After the massage, Celestia, still with her back turned and not knowing his real identity, thanked him. Lux quickly disguised himself as Luno, his female alter ego, and Celestia, excited to see Luno, invited her to lunch. Luno, aka Lux, agreed and left quickly, only to be intercepted by Sanya, who told him she had never seen such an ugly face at the academy. Luckily, Krolsifer showed up to rescue him, recognizing Lux despite the disguise. Lux asked how she had recognized him, and she told him that even in disguise, he had a disgusting aura, and that only an idiot wouldn't notice. The next day, Lux, still as Luno, met Celestia for lunch. They hung out, wasting time on pointless things. Celestia confessed that as a leader, she had to be strong and that people thought she hated men, but it wasn't true. In fact, she liked them. Meanwhile, in the capital, a bald man reported bad news. They couldn't find the Ragnarok. At the same time, at the academy, the night squadrons went to a remote island for a training camp. With all the girls in swimsuits, Lux used his charm to impress them. On the day of the duel, the instructor ordered them to draw their swords and mount their drag rides. Celestia unleashed her powerful Lindworm and Lux mounted his. But, hiding in the bushes, Sheris and Tilfer saw a masked spy, who was responsible for leaking information to the enemy and causing the Stalker commotion. They confronted her, revealing they knew she was Sanya. Sanya, seeing she was caught, dropped the act and admitted her mission was to destroy the new empire and send everyone to another world. She drew her sword and unleashed a dark power that turned into a high-tech machine, leaving Sheris and Tilfer speechless. Suddenly, they heard a flute. The duel between Lux and Celestia got intense when she launched a lightning bolt that shook the ground under Lux's feet. She told him to give up because his drag ride was losing control, but right then, he activated Recoil Burst and charged at her full speed. Celestia instantly teleported using the Divine Gate. Just as she was about to unleash her Starlight Zero attack to send Lux to the afterlife, a huge abyss with octopus tentacles burst out of the ground, shocking everyone. Chaos broke out and everyone was told to evacuate the battlefield. Meanwhile, they were worried about Fluffy, since her massive cannons would be very useful right about now. Fluffy was wandering lost in the forest, exhausted, when she ran into her sister, the director, who comforted her and promised to protect her so she wouldn't be taken away again. On the battlefield, Lux went over to Celestia to check if she was okay after the Abyss's attack. He explained that the Abyss was the Ragnarok, about to be revived. But Celestia, feeling guilty, said she would fight the monster alone. Lux told her that was crazy, that she couldn't beat it by herself. Celestia charged the beast, throwing a bunch of punches and using the Divine Gate to dodge its attacks. But the monster impaled her with a brutal blow, forcing her to retreat. When Lux went to help her, they were surprised to see Sanya. She arrived on her drag ride and said she was impressed Celestia was still alive, then threatened to wipe them off the map. Just then, the mysterious hooded figure revived the Abyss with his flute's melody. Lux saw the guy and wondered if it could be his brother, Fugil. They were in shock seeing the monster back. Taking advantage of the distraction, Sanya attacked Celestia, but Lux blocked the attack. Sanya tried to turn Lux against Celestia, revealing that she had killed his grandfather. As the monster attacked with a tentacle, Sanya shot Celestia, making her crash to the ground. Lux rushed to her side and apologized, saying it was actually his fault his grandfather died. At that moment, he deactivated his drag ride and pulled out his black sword. Celestia recognized Luno's sword, and Lux apologized for tricking her. Then, he activated his Bahamut, transforming into the legendary Black Hero. He promised to protect her and charged at the Ragnarok. Sanya blocked him, but Lux cut off her drag ride's arm. She warned him it was too late to stop the monster, but Lux used Reload on Fire and sliced through the Abyss's tentacles at incredible speed. He went into beast mode and wrecked the Abyss even more until he finally defeated it. But as the monster fell, Celestia begged Sanya to surrender, but she refused. Sanya grabbed the beast's core and escaped with the hooded man, who revealed himself to be an ugly guy named Hayes. Lux thought his face was worse than garbage. Hayes declared he was going to revive the nightmare from 5 years ago, leaving Lux confused. In that instant, Sanya fired a blast at him, but he blocked it and realized they had escaped. That night, while Lux was treating Celistia's wounds, she told him she wasn't happy about the Luno trick. He apologized again, but she confessed she was actually glad he had saved her. She told him she'd let him stay at the academy, but only if he taught her how to deal with guys, and Lux agreed. Later that night, Lux tried to remember what happened 5 years ago and had a flashback of a massacre that shocked him because he couldn't really recall the incident. Suddenly, a giant whale-shaped structure rose from the ocean, and the director revealed it was one of the ruins. Then, she decided to announce the real purpose of the camp, leaving everyone hanging. The next day, Lux went to check on Philoffe, who had fainted. She told him she was fine and would go with them to investigate the ruins. Later, the students got on their drag rides, ready to explore the mysterious ruins. However, the director was worried about Philoffe, who looked really unwell. Inside the ruins, the team started investigating and split into groups. Lux got paired with Noct, but when he saw Calistia was left alone, he offered her to join his team, and she accepted. As they went deeper, Eri warned Lux not to touch his roommate Noct, because she'd climax just by touching any girl in the academy. Embarrassed, Noct said Lux had never seen her as a girl. Suddenly, Noct spotted a human-like figure ahead. They went to check and found a girl sleeping under some rubble. Krulsifer went over and touched her chin. The girl woke up and introduced herself as La Cruche, an android created to watch over the ruins. She didn't remember much, but kept calling Krulsifer administrator and said she would obey all her commands. Lux and Krulsifer introduced her to the team, and everyone thought she was small and cute. However, Krulsifer confessed to Lux that she didn't fully trust La Cruche because she called her administrator even though there was a creator. Meanwhile, Philoffe was feeling worse and worse, and Lux, worried, decided to stay with her. Back at the palace, the 4 great nobles met to talk about Velvet, who had escaped from prison and was building a rebel army. They suggested sending the academy students to fight him. Inside the ruins, Lux was carrying Philoffe on his drag ride. When they reached the area where the abyss were created, Philoffe felt a sharp pain in her head as Hayes played his flute from afar. An abyss appeared and attacked Lux, knocking him to the ground. When the abyss attacked another student, Lux stopped it and hit the monster. The monster charged at him and bit his drag ride, causing an explosion that blew off its arm. Lux recognized the creature. It was the Diablos. Meanwhile, La Cruche warned that the ruins had released 3 abyss because they were on high alert. Lux suggested they stop the investigation, but the director refused. Suddenly, Philoffe activated her dragon and ran off to find the abyss. Surprised, Lux drew his black sword, activated his Bahamut, and followed her, worried about her. When they reached the center of the ruin, they were transported to a strange place. The Diablos attacked immediately, and Lux sliced them to pieces, but the place triggered a horrible memory from his past. While searching for Philoffe, he came across an abandoned building the old empire used for human experiments. Memories from 5 years ago flooded back, leaving him disoriented. He found Philoffe weak and sick. He tried to help her, but she grabbed him by the neck and slammed him against the wall as she transformed into an abyss. But just as he said the nickname he used for her when they were kids, she snapped out of it and collapsed on the floor. Suddenly, Hayes appeared with a sinister smile. Meanwhile, in another part of the ruin, the others managed to destroy 2 abyss and found the entrance to the deepest area. They needed a key to open it, but Krulsifer said nothing about being the key herself. Lux put his sword to Hayes' neck and threatened him, telling him to save his excuses, that nothing would save him from hell. But Hayes warned him that if he died, Philoffe would die too, which shocked Lux. Hayes confessed that he had planted the seed of the Ragnarok in her, a seed that consumes a person from the inside until they become an abyss that obeys the Ragnarok. Because Philoffe was resisting, she was getting fevers and headaches. He also revealed that the Ragnarok had ordered her to kill Lux, and if she kept disobeying, she would suffer a living hell until she turned to ash. Hayes offered Lux a deal. If he opened the door to the deepest part of the ruin within 2 days with the help of Krulsifer, who was the key, he would save Philoffe. That night, Lux went to see the director, who revealed that Philoffe had actually died, but was used in an experiment and miraculously survived, becoming stronger. Later, she discovered she was turning into an abyss. That's why she had brought them to the island and the ruins, hoping to save her with their powers. The next day, Lux went to the workshop. Lisa showed him a new hidden ability she added to his Bahamut, called Overlimit, but she warned him it could kill him if he used it without the deactivation code, and that he needed the director's permission to use it. At that moment, Lux heard his brother's voice on the communicator, advising him to break Hayes' flute to save Philoffe. Later, in the ruins, Krulsifer opened the door to the deepest part, but they didn't find the documents they were looking for. Suddenly, La Cruche got her memories back and turned into an evil doll, saying her order was to kill them all. Hayes appeared with a core and the flute, with Philippi at his side. He played the flute, ordering Philippi to annihilate them. She activated her drag ride, ready to send them to the next world. As everyone activated their drag rides, Lacruche took control of some unmanned machines. Surprising Lux, those drag rides attacked Lux at incredible speed, and he knew they were using overlimit. Celestia charged at Philippi, but she slammed her against the wall like it was nothing. Philippi used Missing Fate and Krulcifer's Wise Blood, but even so, Philippi overpowered them, making their attacks useless. Just then, Ari, holding Velvet's flute, suddenly blew it, cancelling Hayes' control over Philippi. Furious, Hayes tried to play his flute again, but Philippi stopped him. Desperate, he summoned the monstrous, skull-headed Ragnarok. Everyone shot at the Ragnarok, but their attacks only made it stronger. Seeing they were running out of options, Lux asked Lieseshot for permission to use Overlimit. She rushed to get the deactivation code. When he activated Reload on Fire, he moved at an incredible speed, remembering his brother calling him a useless, brainless prince. He slashed the monster several times, but every wound he inflicted only made it stronger. The Ragnarok trapped him, and as he struggled to break free, Hayes called him an idiot prince, useless for his position and with no future. On the other hand, Philippi started cheering him on, while Lieseshot sent him the deactivation code for Overlimit. In that instant, Lux went beyond the limit, and his Bahamut's power surged, leaving Hayes shocked as he ordered his puppet to attack. Lux charged at the Ragnarok with unstoppable force and annihilated it in an instant by piercing its core. Seeing this, Lacruche, surprised and confused, fell into a deep sleep. A few weeks later, the Academy celebrated Lux's return and recovery. However, the director informed him of a major event, the biggest in the country, the founding festival in the capital. That night, the girls argued over who would be his date for the event. To settle it, the director suggested he pick the 3 girls who worked the hardest at the camp as his dates. The next day, Lux and Aerie were walking down the street when she told him about the All Dragons battle at the festival, a tournament where countries compete, betting their rights to investigate the ruins. It turns out he and the Night Squadron were chosen to represent the country. Aerie also warned him to keep a low profile because Blade, an assassin from the Empire, had escaped prison and was after him. Plus, he wasn't in the best shape to fight. Later, Lux, wearing a tux, met Celestia for their date. In the afternoon, he had his second date with Krulcifer. And after that, he went on his third date, approaching Philippi's huge melons as she waited for him. At night, he met a jealous Lieseshot, who was complaining about not being chosen. However, she asked him to be her knight, as she was going to address the nation as queen on the last day of the festival and wanted to introduce him. The next day, he met his sister on a tower and they talked about his health from using Bahamut so much. Aerie revealed that, in his current state, he could only use it for 12 minutes. Suddenly, a girl appeared. Lux, thinking she was the assassin, drew his sword, ready to fight. But she called him Master and introduced herself as Yoruka, a former dragon knight of the Emperor's family. Lux asked if she was there to kill him, but she said she was there to serve him. Things got weird when she suggested offering him her body and started touching herself. Realizing they could be plotting something, Aerie snapped him back to reality, and he insisted they talk about it later. As he ran off, she was disappointed to have such a useless brother who got flustered by every girl he met. Later that day, while Lux was showering, Yoruka appeared behind him and rubbed her breasts on his back. Right at that moment, the other girls found them in that compromising position. As he tried to explain, they yelled at him, calling him an idiot and telling him to go to hell. That night, Lux met with Yoruka to ask why she wanted to serve him. She told him her plan was to fight to the end to overthrow the new empire and rebuild the old one, which shocked him. She said he needed to destroy this fake empire, but Lux made it clear he had no intention of doing that. She tricked him into looking at the moon and, in that instant, tried to send him to the next world. Celestia appeared just in time to block her attack, along with Philippi, Lieseshot, and Krulcifer, who also arrived on their drag rides. Yoruka, with a flaming sword, activated her drag ride. Philippi tried to stop her with her rope, but she cast a spell that made her own drag ride attack her allies. Despite all this, she assured Lux of her loyalty and promised to reveal an important secret if he went with her. He refused, and she disappeared using camouflage. Meanwhile, in the ruins, Hayes and his team continued their plan to overthrow the new empire, with Yoruka's help. On the other hand, Lux and his sister Aerie were summoned to the Imperial Palace for a meeting with the 4 great nobles. They were told that survivors of the old empire were planning to revive it, and that the leader was Velvet, which was a huge shock to Lux. The plan was to execute it right after the All Dragons battle. The nobles wanted Lux to act as bait to draw out the abyss hidden in the villages, which were concealed by the power of a flute, and he had to destroy them before they could attack. Eri initially refused because of her brother's health, but one of the nobles promised that if they cooperated, the director and students wouldn't be blamed for entering the ruins. Lux decided to take the mission and was also ordered to win the dragon battle. The battle began, and Lux, using his drag ride, won his match, completely destroying his opponent. After his victory, Lux left to carry out his mission. During Lisa Shart's battle, her dragon was manipulated and started firing at the crowd, so she was arrested. Lux reached the Abyss's hideout and was ambushed by Sanya, who shot at him. As he dodged her attacks, she played a flute and summoned a swarm of Abyss that attacked him. He tried to dodge and fight them while leading them to a place where they would be destroyed. Later, Lux realized he had walked into a trap. At that moment, he heard gunshots outside the camp, ran out, and saw Velvet's rebel army attacking. Lux summoned his dragon and fought them. He faced Velvet, and they charged at each other. Velvet warned him of a calamity even greater than the Ragnarok that was coming to the Empire. Suddenly, a thunderous sound revealed a colossal monster approaching, the giant warrior of the fifth ruin. With no other choice, Lux drew his black sword. He decided to use his Bahamut's enhanced abilities, keeping the 12-minute time limit in mind as he clashed swords with Velvet. Lux activated Howling Roar, releasing a blast of electricity, but Velvet deflected it and cut off his drag ride's arm, sending him to the ground. But Velvet was shocked to see Lux and wondered how there could be two Bahamuts. Lux explained that the other was a decoy wearing Bahamut armor, a plan he had come up with thanks to Lisa Shart's advice. Realizing he'd been tricked, Velvet got furious and lunged at him, but Lux dodged his attack at incredible speed. Lux called Eri, and she told him about Lisa Shart's serious situation in jail. Meanwhile, Lisa Shart was surprised to see Sanya visiting her in prison. Sanya told her that a colossal monster was destroying the city and ordered her to step down as queen. But she refused to hand over the empire to Hayes. Sanya reminded her that she was once a traitor, with the crest on her abdomen as proof. She told her to stop playing innocent and ordered two guards to rip off her armor to reveal the crest. Just as they were about to do it, Lux smashed through the prison wall and told Sanya and her useless minions to run. At the same time, the giant warrior was threatening to destroy the new empire. Krulsifer and Philippi attacked the monster, but their efforts were useless. The monster kept advancing until Lisa Shart stopped it with her divine ability, Celestial Voice. Lux joined her, combining his Reload on Fire with her Celestial Voice, and together they launched a devastating attack that temporarily stopped the giant. Philippi tied it up with her rope, and Krulsifer froze its limbs with her ice cannons. The winged abyss was still wrecking the city, so Lux ordered Philippi and Krulsifer to handle them while he and Lisa Shart took on the giant monster. In that instant, Hayes used his drag ride's power and unleashed an attack that split the city in two. Meanwhile, Philippi and Krulsifer were fighting the rebel army. Celestia ambushed Sanya and told her she thought she knew her, but she was wrong, and she would get to know her better in hell. Lisa Shart attacked Hayes to stop the destruction, but he sent her flying with one blow. In the middle of the chaos, Lux entered the mysterious fifth ruin and was intercepted by Yorica. When Lux told her he was trying to save her, they clashed weapons as she said she was fighting for her brother. As she manipulated her drag ride, she had a flashback of her brother. Taking advantage of her distraction, Lux landed a precise, powerful blow that sent her to the ground. Meanwhile, Lacrouche was preparing for the ruin's catastrophic activation, and Hayes launched an attack that almost finished Lisa Shart, but Lux saved her. Lacrouche informed Hayes that the capital would be destroyed in 30 seconds. With just 10 seconds left, Yoruka destroyed the core and disarmed it right before the Empire's destruction, putting Lacrouche into a deep sleep as usual. Furious and feeling betrayed, Hayes decided to destroy the Empire himself, but Lisa Shart attacked him and their swords clashed. He sent her flying with a powerful blow. And right at that moment, Lux used Reload on Fire to deliver a final strike that ended the threat of Hayes for good. During the celebration on the last day of the festival, Lisa Shart gave her speech as queen and named Lux her trusted knight. However, her speech went on for so long that people started clapping just so she would finish. Later, Lux and Lisa Shart were sharing a moment when they saw his brother in the distance. Lux drew his sword, but Fugal ran away. He served his country and his academy faithfully, alongside his comrades. The girls gathered around him, and Yoruka pledged her loyalty to him. Will Lux's brother be a threat in the future? That's definitely something to keep an eye on. But well, if you've made it this far, comment the word Lux to let me know you've reached the end. Here on the screen, I leave you with these two cool videos, just like the person watching this video. See you next time. Take care, drink water, take a shower, and bye.